eat any because we eat those and we don't eat anything else. Okay, we're live. Are you on?
No, not yet. I'm a little slow.
A little high here.
Yeah. Maybe move it over a little bit, dude.
Which way?
That way. No. Turn it a little bit. No. Move your feet on the thing. Turn it. Yeah, like that.
You happy now?
More or less.
Oh. Okay. Nobody here yet.
It's okay. Just ignore it.
Oh, ignored the hot pot. Wait and see.
We're still cloudy on the edges. I think you still didn't clean your camera off very well.
Well, no one's going to notice. Just leave it. Hi, Roy. How are you? Haven't seen you for a while. And who else we got? Anybody else yet? We got 4. One of those will be me. And Roy. Oh, Pracey's here. Hi, Pracey. We'll just wait here for a second or two, see who else comes on. Ooh, I'm dripping. Okay. Julie's here. Hi, Julie.
You need your
What?
washcloth.
My glass is sticky. Sticky. Bootsy says, well, replacing the hard drive with a solid state, but it's not going according to book. They never do. Every time you try to upgrade your computer, you spend like 2 days trying to do it. Tracy says, I have my first cold in 4 years. Oh, that's too bad.
Okay.
Hi, Andy.
I have a mild cold as well.
What, you do? Get away from me.
Yeah, mild. It's very mild.
Germy person. Ew. So, anyways.
So my voice might go kind of weird.
No.
I don't know.
No. It goes with the rest of you. Okay, let's get right into today. I'm pissed off at my mother. Yeah. I have been trying to call her several times this week, and she's not answering her phone. I don't know what's going on with her. I think she's a little depressed, but according to my sister, her phone was behind her TV set where she can't get at it. When my sister was over on Monday, my sister moved it out so she could get at it. And when I was over there on Tuesday, I found the phone back behind the TV where she can't get at it. And
Well, she probably gets them to move it in behind the TV because she can't block her vision when she's watching.
Well, we put it on such a way so it wouldn't block her vision. But I don't know what she's doing. But it's starting to drive me mental. Between that, I don't know what's the matter with her. But according to the help over at the nursing home, physically they don't think there's anything wrong with her. She's been in bed a few times this past week. She thinks she tells my sister she thinks she's got a cold and she has diarrhea. She tells me, well, she thought she was getting a cold but never mentioned diarrhea. And the nursing staff there don't know anything about a cold or diarrhea. But all they told me was that there were a couple of times my mother refused to get out of bed. So I've asked, and which reminds me, I have not heard. I asked for the nurse practitioner to give me a call because I want to talk to her about my mother's state right now, what's going on with her. What are you doing? Killing bugs?
Fruit fly.
Oh, well, it's a natural habitat. So I don't know. It's just frustrating me to no end right now with her. So she's working at something. I'm pretty sure of that. But I don't know what it is yet. Haven't figured out her game plan. So that's the latest on my mother.
Maybe she wants to go back to the hospital.
Oh, who knows? My mother's mind, everything you can't. I've said before, don't try to assign logic to it. Because there just isn't any logic to it. And by trying to figure out what it is she's doing, it drives you mental. Because there just never seems to be any rhyme or reason to the whole thing. So, whatever. Hi, Cindy. So anyways, that's my mother this week. And yes, we're still hunting for her bras. And we'll leave that for now because another frustrating thing. I mean, their answer over at the nursing home is, oh, well, they go missing like socks. So maybe just get her sports bras. Well, my sister says sports bras can be quite expensive too. So my sister says she can get her some other bras that are a little less expensive. And I guess what's going to happen is we're just going to have to put up with bras going missing. Unless I can convince my mother that she should go braless. But, I don't know. We'll worry about that at some other point. Okay, so sewing classes. I've just about finished mine. I've only had 2 lessons with it.
But that's typical you anyway.
Well, why just sit around and wait for other people?
Why bother taking the class?
Well, I sometimes ask that question. It's social.
Well, if it's social.
I like to get out a little bit. Unlike you, I don't have a circle of people that are going, Walter, let's do lunch. Let's do lunch, Wally. Like what? Let's see. How many times were you out for lunch last week?
Once.
With the groupies?
Once.
Once? Oh, it sound. I thought you went. Oh, wait. And this week you're going out for dinner tomorrow night.
Assuming it's not canceled. I don't know. I got to message her and find out what's going on.
Tracy says, can Mom put her arms above her head? Probably not. Why? What does that show you?
Yeah, she probably can't.
Oh, laugh out loud, groupies. Hi, Shelley. I'm not sure what you mean, Tracy. Anyways.
Unless it's something that she needs to have to pull over her head.
Yeah.
Or something. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Sports bras go on like t-shirts. Oh, okay. It doesn't matter. She doesn't dress herself. They help her get dressed.
Yeah, she can't. She wouldn't be able.
She won't. No. She won't help herself.
And I don't think she helps them much.
No, I don't think so. I think that's maybe why they don't want her, why they're kind of suggesting she just go braless too. It's one less thing they have to worry about. So, I don't know. But anyway, so yeah, Walter's got 2 sewing classes right now on the go. He had a very frustrating day in his man purse class.
Wow.
Well, what? You said you came home.
Well, the class is 4 sessions long. But then she had us not, I guess what they do is they usually tell people that they have to have everything cut out and ready for it right when they go to the class. Well, she had 4 new people doing it, this class, and or new to making one of these bags, right? So she said, oh, wait to cut it out the first class. Well, that put us way behind. So now we're like 2 classes in. We've got 2 classes left to go, but we've got about 3 classes worth of stuff to do.
But didn't she sort of get lost in the pattern?
Well, yeah, that's the problem. In the first week, she says, oh, I want everybody you'll cut it out, and then you'll fuse everything when you're at home. So, but then she wasn't sure what to fuse. There was people weren't sure what to fuse to what. And so she says, well, then don't fuse it and bring it the next class. So then when we did that took a lot of time to do that. So we didn't get very far. Then she said, can you just finish the front? Well, a couple of people weren't comfortable finishing the front, and I went ahead and I tried to finish the front. But the problem is the instructions don't really match what I expect you're supposed to do.
Well, you mean like she's deviating from the...
No, she's not deviating from the instructions. The instructions don't make sense as to...
on what to do.
Yeah.
Well, that's the problem with some of those patterns anyways. I have found it, there are good patterns and there are other patterns that aren't written so well. It's a real art to write a pattern, I think.
So now we're going to be behind schedule. She says, well, then we can work overtime to make up for it. So
Hi, Jody.
I'm going to be there almost all day on Wednesday.
Yeah, well, there you go. So anyways, well, I do know sometimes they get a little lost in what they're instructing too. And I think there's a couple of reasons for that. One, I think it is because everybody that's in a class, although they tell you what level the class is for, it's every level that shows up. And so you got some people who will work ahead because they think they know what they're doing and they can screw up and that puts you behind. Not me, I know what I'm doing and I did it, so there you go. Or other people, are completely lost. They're all at different levels and that's difficult for any teacher to try and handle that and try to get everybody on the same page at once. And hi, Rosie. And also, the one thing, though, that I do know, because this instructor he's talking about, she's very good. She knows what she's doing. Bags are kind of her thing, her specialty. And she makes some very elaborate bags. If you remember way back there last spring or that, I took that Sydney bag class, remember, the bag from hell, as I called it. And I mean, she was really good showing me how to do things. But that was not an easy project at all. But she got lost in the pattern, or she changed things in the pattern and things like that. But because she's taught these so many times, and I know how this feels from being in a teacher's background too. You can never assume, even if you've taught something 100 times over, you need to review your lesson plans, because I have been caught in that. I'd walk into classroom, yeah, I've taught this a million times, and halfway through the lesson I'd realize, uh-oh, I forgot a step. I forgot
Yeah,
something.
well, it's even with me is like every month I had to do this form that I had to do. Like it was a booklet that went out to the
Oh,
municipality.
you mean when you were working?
When I was working. And I had to do it, and there's a series of steps that had to be done every month, right, while you're doing it. Well, I had my steps all written out because it was easy to miss a step.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't matter how many times you teach something, you got to review your lesson plans. And because what happens then is if you miss a step, then you confuse your class, and then your class starts asking questions, and that starts to confuse you, and then all chaos breaks loose. And I've been in that situation myself before, so I can feel for her or any of the other instructors.
But
with
you know
that.
what? It seems to me like she just nosedives into it, like without reviewing the stuff before.
I think a lot of them over there don't nosedive into things and not review it. And yeah.
And then that screws them up. So
See, that's why before I take one of those classes, I like to gather as much information about what the project is we're doing. That's why I end up being ahead, because
yeah, well, like you found the pattern for the mystery quilt.
yeah, it's not a mystery anymore. I'm taking a class at the end of the month, starting up another class, and it's called Mystery Quilt. And she's only giving us the instructions 1 week at a time. So she already handed out the preparation stuff for the fabric. But the problem is, it's a king size quilt, and I'm looking at the fabric for the first step, and it's not enough to make a king size quilt. And I'm thinking, well, then you're probably using the same fabrics for the other steps, but they'll be cut differently because there's several different blocks that go into this. And it didn't tell you how much you need total fabric. Well, there's no sense having just enough fabric to do the first step and then having to get more if you can get it, because you want to have all your fabric the same, right? And sometimes some fabrics you might pick, you might not be to get more of it for one reason or another. So I thought I'd do a little internet search, and I did, and I found the pattern. Actually, I didn't find the pattern. I found pictures of it. I found where I could buy the pattern, but I didn't because it's all part of the plan. But now I know what fabrics I need, and so I'm ahead. So she's going to get upset with me because I'm going to go, Donna, you know the mystery quilt? Not a mystery to me anymore. And she'll probably want me to swear secrecy or something. Hi, Mel. Andy says, I was teaching a class and couldn't figure out why people were looking at me like I was nuts. Then I realized I was teaching the wrong content. Oh, been there. Been there, done that. I actually taught the wrong class. Like, the times when I'd have 3 different classes in a day, different grade levels. And somehow in my head, I'd walk in and it would be like my grade 11 class, and I'd start teaching them what I was teaching my grade 12 class. And then realize, wait, you're wrong class. Because they would look at me too like I was nuts, like, sir, we didn't read that book. What do you mean you didn't read that book? That's the one we started with. Oh, wrong class, never mind. Moving on. Yeah, that did happen to me on more than one occasion. But so, I mean, teaching's not an easy thing, no matter what type of thing you're teaching. Whether you're teaching school, you're teaching a course, whatever on it. So, yeah, they have my sympathy. Janine says hi. Okay. Hi to you too. So anyways, so that's our sewing classes. Okay, last night we went to man's night at the club. What is the club, you may ask? Well, it's a gay bar. It's in our area. It's been around for about 25 years or so. And it's basically a little hole in the wall in an industrial park. But last night they decided it was going to be a man's night. Now you might say, well, wouldn't that be the same every night if it's a gay bar? No, because it's an LGBTQ bar. Put it that way. It's not just for men. There are women there as well. Lesbians, of course, for the most part. Maybe a few transgender.
And straight friends.
And some that, fag hags and beards and whatnot. But anyways, last night was strictly for men. And they had some guest bartenders there that came from Toronto. And of course, they were barely dressed. That's to get you to buy more booze and stuff like that. And they had some guy that was supposedly a male review, but it was a team of one. And
burlesque.
Yeah, and he kind of sucked. Overall, I think he was a wannabe dancer. And not a good one on top of it all. But we went just for the sake of going, because we haven't been there in years.
And the crowd was not too young.
No, it was kind of like
almost senior
old men's night out in that one. Then they had like best chest contest. Okay, no, not a good thing with the age of that crowd. And well, they had kind of a best bottom too, which was even sadder. So yeah, it was quite an experience. Sorry, no video of that, but didn't need to make anybody throw up or anything like that. So, oh well, it was something to do. And of course, we did go before that though to Downton Abbey, the movie. And I don't know how many of you are Downton Abbey fans, but I definitely was. And Walter never watched any of them, but he went to the movie, and I think he fell asleep.
I even bought the ticket. So
yeah, well, you got one free.
Yeah.
So let's not make it sound so generous. But anyways, I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. And if you're a Downton Abbey fan, you'll love the movie. That's all I can say about it. It's good. It's just like being back in this series again. If you didn't watch Downton Abbey, don't go, because they're trying to tote that it stands alone. No, not really. Yeah, you can understand what's going on in it, but the problem is the nuances of the characters, because there's little references made throughout. And Walter was bored.
I was beginning to fall asleep.
Yeah, well, no one was shooting anybody or anything. Oh, they almost shot the king. But don't give away the plot. But anyways, if you're a Downton Abbey fan, you'll love the movie. If you've never seen Downton Abbey, don't go, because you won't get it. Okay, so what else are we watching? Well, we watched 2 movies on Netflix this week. One was a little cheesy, a little bit, but actually it wasn't that bad. It's what I call an amusing little time waster called Time Trap. And the premise is these bunch of youngish college-like kids go down in a cave looking for their professor, because they're all archaeology students. And while they're down there, time seems to slow down for them. But outside of the cave, time is going by really fast, and you see these lights in the opening of the cave going across, like sort of. Then you kind of figure out it's the sun, and you think it's days that are passing by. But later in the movie, you find out it's actually the equinox, the sun coming up the equinox each time. So it's years that are passing, and they pass in seconds. They just go boom, boom, boom. So they're way in the future. Earth is no longer populated. Mars is. There's all kinds of stuff. There's cavemen in it. There's a fountain of youth in it. It's kind of a mishmash of all kinds of things. But like I said, it's an amusing little mindless time waster.
Yeah, it was it was okay, but it wasn't like outstanding.
Yeah, no, it's not going to win an award for anything. But like I said, it's an amusing little time waster. So, and the other one, actually, this is funny. We'd seen the first one back when it came out, and that was quite a long time ago. And they've made a sequel. It's called Bon Cop, Bad Cop. And it's a Canadian film. But it's, one cop comes from the police force in Montreal, and the other cop comes from the police force in Ontario, and they're teamed up. And actually, it's pretty good. It's a good mixture of action and comedy. It's actually pretty well done. The only thing that's annoying about it is the cop from Montreal will speak in French a lot. Now they put in subtitles underneath, contrary to popular
There's
opinion.
English and there's French in the movie.
Yeah,
so
and it
if
keeps
when
switching
the French
around.
Is spoken, you get subtitles, and of course, when the English is spoken, you don't see anything.
No, you don't see anything. But then the English cop, the cop from Ontario, he doesn't always speak in English either. He sometimes switches over to French. So I don't know. If you think that all Canadians speak French and English fluently, no. No. We may learn French in school to a point, but no, we don't. Not here anyways. But Tracy says, I used to enjoy EastEnders. Yeah, it's been on for years, hasn't it been?
I never really got into it. I watched a couple of episodes, but never really.
Yeah, I tried to watch it too, but I never really got into it. But it's one of those it's a soap opera, basically.
Well, isn't that what Downton Abbey is?
Yes and no. Yes and no. It's a series. It's
a so the other EastEnders is a series.
Yeah, but it comes on every day.
Well, did it?
I think it did. Yeah, because it's been on TV for years and years. Yeah, Shelley says she's, but now we're 10 years behind. Yeah, because it's been on TV, I think, like for over 30, 35, 40 years, maybe longer than that.
Yeah.
But anyways, I think that's one reason why I never got into it. I watched some of it, but I mean, it's, have to go back to the beginning. Well, I haven't got time to watch 40 years worth of television programs to catch up, even on a binge. Yeah, so those two are pretty good. Downton Abbey. What else? Yeah, that's about it that's been going on this week. Can't think of anything else too exciting.
I started watching that Marianne.
Oh, that Marianne. Yeah, that's weird.
On Netflix, called Marianne. It was just released. It's a horror type thing. It's French actually, but it's been dubbed.
Yeah, it's dubbed.
So, but it's really weird.
A lot of stuff on Netflix is like international, and they have it dubbed or whatever, or subtitles.
I think people tend not to watch stuff that have subtitles as much.
No, well, I don't like reading while I'm watching a movie.
And so, to have the appeal of somebody watching it would be to dub it.
Yeah. Tracy says, I wish the USA had a TV show like EastEnders with real-looking people. Well, yeah, but who wants to look at ugly people? We see that every day at Walmart. Why see it on TV? The people of Walmart, yeah. Yeah, can't think of anything else this week that's gone on that's been too exciting. Oh, my sewing machine, my expensive sewing machine, my embroidery machine, is out for general overhaul and adjustments and cleaning. I've been having some problems with one of the bobbins in it. And I don't know, I think it's a combination of the machine and user error, as I'm figuring out. But since I'm going on a retreat in the end of November, I thought, I better take it in because it'll probably take a couple of weeks to get it, up to par again and all cleaned up. And I'm a heavy-duty user, as you know, so yeah, I'm a heavy-duty user on any machine I own. I should be in the test market or something. If it lives through me, it's good, as I certainly put them to their limit, everything. And that reminded me of something else this week. What was it? Oh, had an executive meeting this week of the guild. I had to remind them that I'm not one of the girls. Our president kept saying, okay, ladies. And at the end, she says, okay, when we adjourned the meeting, she says, okay, ladies, thanks for coming out. We'll see you guys at the next guild meeting and everything. And I went, excuse me. I said, I just want to make one point clear. I am no lady. At all. I'm not. She goes, oh, no. She says, I'm sorry. It's just habit. And I said, I'm pulling your chain. I mean, I'm the only man in the guild, okay? And I'm the secretary of the guild. But, and then she had to turn around because, I'm sorry, but women can never leave anything alone. They always have to have the last word. And so she said, well, as long as nobody calls us girls, because we're not girls. And I said, well, I've got a solution. If you can't remember what to say, why don't you just call us all bitches? I answer to that. I don't know if they thought that was funny or not. But I got a scream out of it, so I am my own amusement park. Um, but anyways, okay, so speaking of people, let's talk about today's topic, which is modern parenting from a childless couple's point of view. And we are the childless couple with a point of view. Now, this does not mean that people cannot enter into this conversation if they are not childless. In fact, anybody can get in on this conversation because I think everybody has opinions about bringing up kids. But I think it's a very touchy topic because I get it. Nobody wants to be told how to rear their children. I mean, after all, those little things that dropped out of your body are your property, right? It's like a pet, like a dog, a cat. You walk it, you feed it, you play with it, you ignore it. It grows up, it goes away from home and ignores you. Isn't that the way it is? Really? Yes, I'm being facetious. But what I really hate is, on many levels, is today the way kids behave. And I never blame a kid for their behavior. I only blame it on bad parenting. Now, yes, I think parenting is very hard to do. But it is not an you don't have to have children. Nobody has to have children. You've heard me say that before, I think, if you've been a long-time viewer of my vlogs or of Stephen and Walter Live. In my view, nobody has to have children. There is nothing anybody signs when they get married or before that says, yes, I agree, I will have children. No.
Well, that's only if you're Catholic.
Well, Catholic Church, that's all their thing. Yeah, I know. But nobody has to have children, okay? So if someone doesn't have children, and let's just talk straight couple, for example.
Yeah, like I worked with a lady for many years that her and her husband decided not to have kids.
And that was their prerogative. But other people will shoot them down and go, oh, you don't know what you're missing. Well, from what I've observed, not missing much, really. I'm not missing the heartache, the tantrums, the screaming when they're teenagers, the bailing them out of jail, the intoxication underage, the drug taking, the bad hairstyles, bad clothing choices,
babysitting their kids,
bad boyfriend, bad girlfriend choices, babysitting their kids when they get older, going through their divorce, when they move back. No. Now, if add that all up, who's the smart one? The ones that had the kids or the ones that decided not to have kids? My money's on the ones who decided not to have kids. So why is it that people who have children turn around and suddenly they're up here to everybody else that doesn't have children? And they look down their noses at people like, oh.
Like I even had, people nowadays, and one of the sewing classes, one of the ladies said to me, oh, do you have children? And I said, no, I don't. And she says, well, why not? And I said, well, I'm in a same-sex relationship. We generally can't have children, right? Unless you adopt.
Well, not in the conventional way.
And she goes, oh, well, you can adopt and all this other stuff. And I said, you can today, but you can't. You couldn't when we first got together.
No.
There was no way you could do that. I said it was still grounds for firing if you were gay. So I said, and not only that, I guess I was never very maternal, so I never really ever thought of having kids.
Yeah. So Julie says, what are you calling modern parenting? Okay, let's define the term when I use the term modern parenting. I'm talking about the way, what family life is like today in the 21st century as compared to what it may have been like in our age group. And when I say our age group, I mean the last of the baby boomers, okay, which is Walter and I. We're in our 60s now. We grew up in the 70s. Parenting was a little different in the 70s in general in the way people did things because economics, all kinds of other things were different. But I suppose you could also say that maybe this is the way parenting has always been, but you get to a point in your life where if you look back I guess you think that maybe everything's going to hell. You know, it's that old syndrome kind of a thing, you know. In my day, they didn't do that, you know, and maybe they did, and we just
Well,
don't.
okay, like an example might have been when I grew up, I was fairly disciplined. My mom was had a high degree of discipline, so and in those days, part of that was the yardstick.
Yeah.
And if I went out with her anywhere, I was told I had to be quiet and not move and not cause a ruckus or anything like that.
Okay, and my parents used to say to us, they would warn us, you're going here and here. Like there maybe we were going to some place like, well, my grandparents, or we were going out shopping, or we were going to maybe a restaurant. We were given the what do you call it? We were read the riot act. Thou shalt not do this, thou shalt not do that, and if thou do any of these things, you better watch out what you're going to get when you get home. Okay, corporal punishment. All right, so that's a dirty word in modern parenting today. You can't hit a kid. Okay, I kind of agree with that. I don't think you should hit children. I don't think you should probably hit anybody. I don't think violence is necessarily the proper way to discipline a child. But a lot of parents I see today try to reason with a 3-year-old. Like I have seen them in restaurants. Kids crying. He's ripping up the napkins. He's bored probably, throwing things around, whatever, making a nuisance of himself, but he might be 3 or 4 years old. And the parents are going, sweetie, give that to mommy. No, sweetie, don't do that. Sweetie, now you play nice. Sweetie, you're going to get a timeout. I don't see that the child is actually paying any attention to that. Like they're kind of looking at them like a dog looks at you. Because all a dog ever hears is you're saying, okay, Rex, go to the door. Rex, lay down. Rex, go over here. Rex, go eat your dinner. Rex, stop barking. All Rex is hearing is blah, 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 Rex, blah, 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 Rex, blah, 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 Rex. That's all they're getting out of it. And I think some of these kids, that's all they get out of it too. They hear the name and that's about it. So there's one of the things I think about modern parenting is I don't think parents should reason with children. No. I think there needs to be some guidelines put into place, especially when your children are younger. I'm the adult, you're the child. I'm your mother, I'm your father, you're our child. Mommy and daddy tell you what you can do and what you can't do. We do not negotiate, we do not reason, we do not bribe for this. This is just the way it is. And there are consequences if you don't behave properly. And those consequences are not ones that include, well, you're only going to get 1 little box of candy this week instead of 2. Mommy's not going to let you read your comic books for an hour. Mommy's going to send you, or daddy's going to send you to your room until you cool off. Well, yay, guess what's in the kid's room? A television set, a stereo system, and a Game Boy. Okay, yeah, send me to my room. I'm happy. I have all my stuff there. There's punishment. My parents used to, one of the punishments I'd get is the chair. The chair. Sit in that chair, don't say a word, and don't move until I tell you you can. And if we put up a fuss, we had to sit in that chair even longer. We weren't sent to our room. We were sent to a chair. And there we sat. And when you're a little kid doing that, it's pretty hard to sit there without fidgeting around. Actually, my parents did do corporal punishment as well. And I did get hit. I got spanked. And I'll tell you, this is one reason why I'm against corporal punishment for children, is because my parents had something, and we call it the cat and nine tails. Now, everybody knows what cat and nine tails is, right? Medieval thing. Long things made out of leather straps. It was a whip with knots in it, and it just crack open your flesh. Well, my parents wasn't that way. But it was a piece of leather that was handed down to my father from his mother that had been used on him when he was a kid. And it was basically a piece of leather cut into little tails. And actually, I think in my whole life, I was only ever physically hit across my behind once. But that was enough. My mother used to threaten us with it. She always kept it in her kitchen drawer, and we lived in a very small bungalow. Our kitchen had the table in it, and so everything was within grasp. Like, you could open the fridge, still sitting at the table. You could open up the drawers from that, and she kept it in her apron drawer with her tea towels. And she'd sit there, and she'd say, okay, you kids don't smarten up. And she'd reach in the drawer, and she'd flip this thing, goes, who wants it first? So we'd always point at each other. Usually I lost, because my brother and sister would gang up on me and go, he does! Kind of a thing.
Somebody says the child knows how to redirect the parents, or I don't know if that's a spell check or whatever. I think she meant to say that children know how to.
Oh, hi Brenda, hi Kathy. No, I think I think Kathy, you can correct us. She says the child knows how to redirect the parents. If I'm reading this correctly, you mean they know how to put the parents onto a new topic, which is away from the child, kind of a thing. Like, they come in the house and something's broken, and the kind of thing. It wasn't me. Well, no, but like, okay, well, yeah, that's broken, but it wasn't my fault because the phone rang and I had to get it and I tripped, and or something like that. I don't know. Yeah, Kathy says, yeah, that's it. So yeah, they're really good at it. Kids are not stupid anymore. They know all the psychological tricks. I mean, that's the other discipline. Reverse psychology. I remember my father's first cousin and his wife, they had their first child a little bit later in life. Like, they were, I think, in their early 30s when they had their first child. So when their child was 3 years old or so, my parents walked into their house, and he was standing at the top of the stairs, and this kid turns around, and he says, he's at the top of the stairs, and they come in, get your fucking ass in here, you old bastards! And my parents just about keeled over on the floor. This is coming out of the mouth of a 3 or 4 year old. And my mother said to the mother of this child, they said, yeah, going through a phase. We're just ignoring it, and it'll probably go away. Guess what? Never went away. If that had been me growing up at that age, and I had said something like that, holy crap, I'd be looking for my head in another room out of that. Would have gotten killed with it. But this reverse psychology, or this ignore bad behaviors. And then they make excuses for why the child is doing this. Well, they're just acting out. It's a phase. It'll go away with time. Yeah, I don't know. I have not seen a lot of examples of that kind of behavior going away. If anything, I've seen it getting worse.
Actually, one thing that always annoys me when I go into like a fast food restaurant or something, when my parents, the odd time that I would eat out with my parents, which was rare, because my parents never ate out much, we would go in and basically they ordered what they wanted, and they would order what I would order something for me. I didn't get a choice, right?
Yeah.
But now I see people in the front of McDonald's for half an hour negotiating with a little tiny kid as to what he wants for lunch.
My parents did not negotiate. They just said, okay, you're getting this and you'll enjoy it. And then you'd sit there and go, I don't like this. You're going to eat it. See what's going to happen if you don't. Okay? There was a lot of threatening in my family, but they were not. I hear parents threaten their kids as well. But my parents actually acted upon the threat. So we knew it wasn't...
And didn't back down.
Yeah, it was not a, what do you call it?
An idle threat.
An idle threat. They were backing it up. And
I think that's probably a big problem nowadays, is that people nowadays don't back down, or back down.
Yeah.
And then it's not consistent, and then the kid knows he can get away with it. So
I mean, you see prime examples of this if you go grocery shopping. Every time. I can't say that there's anybody that's not been in a grocery store or in a Walmart and there's a kid down the aisle screaming its head off, having a temper tantrum, and the parent is ignoring them. The idea that this will go away. Excuse me, that's your kid. Shut it up. I mean, in my wicked imagination, I would like to run them over with a shopping cart. You know, oh, the poor little dear. I suppose I could get away with that once if I ran them over, but I think they'd get suspicious when I back over it a couple of times. But you know, that's what you're supposed to do if you hit an animal on the road and it's still like you can't save it, so back over it again, put it out of its misery. Just saying. Don't know. Not that I've really done that. That's what I'm telling you. But then back here, someone said, if the school called me, Tracy says, I'd back the teachers up and my son would lose video games for a while. Yeah, okay. Yeah. This is why I do have opinion about parenting, is because I was a teacher. Yes, my parents used to say the same thing. If we ever get a call home from you, every time. This is what happens when parents indulge their children, because he was the last one and he wasn't supposed to exist because the condom busted. All right? And this is the result. Yeah. Okay? Prime example. Yeah. You're dripping all over.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. Anyways, so what was I saying? Oh, yeah. So what they do is they ignore the kid to start with, and that doesn't work. And the kids can get away with whatever they want to get away with. But heaven help you if you should walk into a grocery store or up to something and some kid's in there grabbing stuff off a shelf. And I've seen this on many occasions. The kid is grabbing stuff off the shelf and throwing it in the shopping cart. And the mother's putting it back on. No, dear, we're not getting that today. I want that. No, we don't. We've got plenty of it at home. You don't need any more right now. Or when we finish the other one, then you can have that one. No, that's where they start to try and reason with the child. You know, like we have lots of it at home, but when that's done, we'll come and we'll get a new box of this cereal or whatever for you. No, I want it now. Well, you can't have it now, dear, so put it back in the shelf. No! No, I'm not going to do that! No! No, 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 no! That's when I hit him with a shopping cart. Yeah. Back up heavy on that. That's when I like those shopping carts that have the extra big wheels, because you make sure you get them in one fell swoop with it. But really, and the parent just ignores them. And then, I try this all the time. I give the parent a dirty look, like, you should be killed, not your kid. But they'll look right back at you like, oh, don't you go there. My child. And this is what I meant when I said their property. They are a responsibility, whoever said that. Yeah, but a lot of people don't take responsibility for their children. So as a teacher, I'd call home and say, well, you know, such and such is been, we're having some difficulties. This is what, you know, is going on. This is what I have tried to do. And I'm hoping that you will support me in this effort. I shouldn't even have to talk that way. I shouldn't have, okay, your kid's being a little bastard. All right? I know you're sending the best ones you've got to us, which isn't saying much, but here's what I suggest you do. No, we can't talk to them like that. But they throw it right back at me. Well, they're probably doing that because they're probably bored. Probably they are. Probably that's why they're trying to play a video game underneath their desk or text all their friends with their cell phone. And I'm talking high school kids here now. I'm not talking little kids. Okay? And then suddenly it's the teachers and the school's fault. They come in on parents' night and they want to know, they want me to parent their child. They want me to change their child's behavior. Well, when they're 14, 15, 16, 17 years old, a little far gone to change something that they've been used to for all their life. And I'm just their teacher. I am not their parent. I don't have the same authority. Obviously, the parents don't either. But I mean, you see what I mean? So, no.
And then you get into, we're talking little kids, so you get into the older kids. And then that's where you get these helicopter parents.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, there's young adults as kids still. Parents are still treating them as if they're little kids.
Yeah.
Right? So, I know a woman that works for a human resources department, and she said they've had parents try to come in and sit in on an interview for their 20-year-old child. Right? And for a summer job or something like that.
Uh-huh.
Parents will call and say, well, why didn't my son get that job? Not the kid. Or they've even tried to come in on the first day of employment and try and help them set up their desk.
Like, duh. I mean, okay. And the sad part about that isn't just the fact that parents are doing that, it's the fact that their children expect them to do that. So let's keep children as juveniles even into their 30s. No wonder these are the kind of people that probably have trouble with relationships, have trouble bringing up their own children, have problems with their marriages, all kinds of things. Because they've never been allowed to make their own mistakes when they've gotten older and to learn from those. They've always had a safeguard or a safety net kind of a thing as their parents. And needless to say, you see a lot of tired parents out there at that age, because we know a lot of people where their kids have had a divorce or whatever and have moved back in, or they leave the grandchildren with the grandparents as the daycare. And, you know, the grandparents are in their 60s, moving into their 70s, and they've got little kids that they're looking after.
I was at the gym a couple months ago, and I overheard a guy saying that, yeah, next week we're tied up with the grandchildren because my son and daughter, he says a 6-month-old and a 2-year-old, or I think he said 2 or 2.5-year-old or something like that they were looking after for a week because their son and daughter decided, or son and daughter-in-law or whatever, decided that they've had a too difficult time parenting, so they needed a break and needed to go on holiday for a week, and so they dropped off the kids at their grandparents. And at first the guy said at the gym, I said no, but his wife said yes. She caved. And he says, when I was younger, he says, when we were raising our kids, he said, there was nobody there letting us go on a holiday.
No. And my parents were the same. My parents did not live in the same town as my grandparents did. They weren't that far away, but if my parents wanted to go out, and they didn't go out very often, with 3, young children in the house kind of a thing, when they did go out, they got a babysitter, and that's what they did. I know so many parents now don't want to have a babysitter as such because you don't know about these people. If they don't come with like 3,000 references and everything like that, and a million certificates in first aid and everything else.
Too much stuff on the news and that if there's child molesters out there and all this other stuff.
But you want to know something? There has always been child molesters in our society. Now, I'm not saying that parents should throw all caution to the wind, but I do know that in our time, in our day, we were just sent out in the summertime. Okay, go out, play. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. See you when the street lights come on. You popped in occasionally for lunch, maybe for dinner. Went out again. Street lights came on. You had to go home. Mind you, when I was little, I did grow up in a small little community where I knew everybody else, and it was a different time, I guess. So I kind of get the overcautiousness, but I think now parents are too overcautious with the kids. I mean, like you said, they're setting up their desks when they're in their 20s. They have parents' days at universities now. I would have been mortified as a student, as a university student, having my parents come and talk to my professors. I mean, it was bad enough if my parents went to parents' night when I was in high school, and they didn't do that often.
Yeah, I think kids take longer to grow up now than they used to.
Well, our society is partly to blame for that too, because if you watch, our whole society is youth-based. Fashion, things like this. You watch a show like America's Got Talent, the latest season, there was quite a few kid acts on there. Here are these kids, yeah, they're talented. One could sing opera, one could play the violin like a virtuoso, and all that kind of stuff. But they're still kids, like 9, 10, 11 years old. And they're on a show where they could win like $1 million or whatever and headline a Las Vegas show. And they're made to think that they're wonderful. And their little egos must be blown right out the window when they don't win. And the parents are probably, and who's pushing them into these things? I mean, a lot of these cases, I think the parents go, oh, my child is gifted. I'm putting them on TV because they're going to, do wonderful things. And I think that's the old stage parent kind of thing, that.
Mrs. Sudeikis says when she was pregnant with her first, her mom told her she didn't babysit grandchildren. Code for you have them and you take care of them.
Yeah, and actually, my mother said the same thing to my brother when he had his kids, and your mother said the same thing to your sister when she had kids.
Yeah, but my mother said, I'm okay to babysit if you want like a night out or something.
Yeah, that's what my mother said.
Or if you want, or if you get sick, or if you, or something, or if you in an emergency or something, right? But my mom says I'm not doing it all the time, right? So that's what my mom said. But so my sister turned around, because she's second generation, she turned around and said, I'm not going to do that to my children, right?
Look where she is now.
So now she's babysitting the kids all the time.
Yeah, they're her grandchildren all the time. Was taking them to school in the morning and picking them up after school and all that, because
I haven't talked to her for a while. I bet you she's still doing it.
I mean, they were sort of in the transition of moving too. Her own son.
Yeah, but they took a year to move.
Yeah, like it was, why rush things when you've got built-in babysitting service, which if it was costing them anything, it wasn't costing them much.
No.
That.
No, my sister wouldn't be charging in.
No, so you see, whose stupid fault is that?
Yeah, I know.
Like really. But Pracy says, too many young parents these days still want to act like they are single and childless.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. And we have many straight friends, couples that are doing that right now. They want to have it all. And this goes back to what somebody said about children being a responsibility. I don't think a lot of these young parents today understand what it means to have children.
Yeah, actually, when I was working, this happened about 10 years ago, a young guy that I worked with, they had their first child. They were active, like hikers and campers and all other stuff. And they were waiting to have the child born, and a month after the birth, they were planning a big trip to California and going camping with the newborn.
Right.
And
how'd that work?
I'm sorry, but I don't have kids, but I'm not so stupid as to think that you could actually do that with a newborn, right? And so my boss sort of said to him, well, you're kind of going away kind of soon after the birth.
Yeah, a little bit.
Right? And do you think that's a good idea? Oh, yeah, it's fine. We do this all the time. It'll be fine. Well, then years later, I heard him say, well, I don't know what I was thinking when we did that.
Well, obviously you weren't thinking. Guess they didn't think their life was going to change.
No.
I mean, you don't have to have children to understand that your life's never going to be the same again once you've had children. And I think that's why there are those couples out there who don't have a medical reason for not being able to have children. They have just decided that the lifestyle they want to live means that they can't have children. And I don't think there's anything selfish with that. I think that's a very responsible and being very accountable. So if your lifestyle, if you don't want to change your lifestyle, and if you think a child is not going to change your lifestyle, then what rock have you been living under? The whole bit. So if you've made a conscious decision that you don't want to have children, that's fine. That's your decision, and I think you're making...
Well, and actually, in the couple that I know that don't have children, that decided not to have kids, they, all the time, they're constantly asked, well, was there something wrong with you that you didn't have kids?
Well, that's the
Was
other
there,
thing. There's a stigma. There is still a stigma placed upon childless couples. And I think this must be very difficult on women especially, because I know for a fact, and I've heard women discuss this, oh, they don't have any children. There must be something wrong. And they look down, once they've had children, women look at other women who do not have children in a totally different way. I'm sorry if you think that's sexist. It's not sexist. I have observed this. I worked with a lot of women over the years in various stages of pregnancy and not pregnancy over it all. And yeah, you'd hear it in their voice that, it was like a red badge of courage because you are now suddenly pregnant. You're about to give birth. You're going to add another human being to an overpopulated world on here. But and I think that's very, very unfair and very unkind of people to do that kind of thing. What's Tracy say? Andy says Janine would sometimes help with the grandkids if one of the parents had to go out of town on business. Sure, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I mean, it's family.
that's a once in a while thing.
Yeah.
It's not like you're looking after them all the time. But
And Tracy says you need to get all your childish pursuits out in the teens and early 20s and use protection so you're fully ready for parenthood. Exactly. I think people have, let's face it. If people were really honest about how many people actually went out there and planned their pregnancies, planned their children, it just happens. We know how it happens, but it happens. And then you go, oops, well, yeah, we're all excited. We're going to have a baby and everything. But 9 times out of 10, I think it's a kind of that's not what we're planning at this point in time.
Meliart says, I know the stigma too well. I never wanted to have children. The people are always asking, wanting some kind of explanation.
It's not their business to ask, you say. And you're darn right about that. It isn't any of their business. But don't you get the whole thing when people ask about that? We get it.
We get it. Oh, well, how come you don't have any kids?
Now that
I get it all the time. I've gotten, especially modern day where gay life is more well accepted, I get it all the time. Like, well, how come you guys never had kids? Because
we didn't want
them. First of all, we didn't think we could have them. And second of all, as time got older, you get past it. You don't, but I've never ever really wanted kids, so.
Yeah, I went through a stage when I was younger, but that was not, when I look back on it now, I realize that was not a decision I was making for myself. That was a decision that society was placing upon me. But that was also when I was struggling with my own sexuality and the whole bit. And I even thought at one point in time, and this is completely wrong to think this way, that, if I got married and had kids, it would drive the gay out of me. Well, no, that does not work that way.
Or the other thing is what about what kind of influence I might have on the kid, like for our lifestyle and stuff.
Well, I don't. Yeah,
but that went through my head a few years ago when again we weren't as well accepted. So yeah. I would be afraid of the kid being ostracized because they had to.
And to be honest,
male parents
a lot of, and this is very controversial, and I wouldn't say it in a room full of gay people who might have children because they would kill me. But a lot of times, gay people have children because they're looking for normalcy in their life. And that's the straight world. So they're undercutting the whole thing that you are gay. And then they have to go out and they have to adopt, get a surrogate, do whatever to have these children.
And then also seen somebody that's a politician in Canada that basically he had a kid to make his life look more normal.
Yeah, in the public eye.
Yeah.
Because it made him look like a family man then in the whole bit. Well, fine, but a lot of these people who are gay people, gay men especially, suddenly they want to adopt or have a child. I don't want to whitewash them all, but, I kind of wonder why. Because the gay life, as gay men, we have a certain amount of freedom that immediately you don't have with a child. I mean, I know one couple who that were gay, who tried to carry on, and probably still are, the life they had before they had a child. Then they got a child, and showing them off, adopted a baby and the whole bit, and showing off the pictures and everything. Everybody's going, ooh, ah, isn't that cool? And now they've got this little burden on their hands that they oh, well, what do we do now? Yeah, the novelty wore off. It's like, that new toy you got at Christmas time under the tree. First 3 days it's exciting. After that it's kind of like, ugh, now what do I do with it? Now, I'm not saying that all people are that way, as gay people, but enough of them are, And also because they're very picky about what they want for a child, too. Like, designer child. Oh, I can't wait to dress it up and make it look good. And see what mine's doing, my Johnny? They're taking violin lessons. They're 3. They're good. They're really good. Yeah, they're going to be a virtuoso. Yeah, no. Just be a spoiled little bugger. Philadelphia has out gay weathercaster Adam Johnson. Him and his partner have 2 kids and are fantastic better than half the heteros I know. Yeah, I'm not saying they can't be good parents. I'm just saying maybe it's kind of the reverse. Maybe it's me doing what people who have children do to childless people. Maybe me as a childless gay person is doing the same thing to gays that have children, going, oh, really? Looking down our noses at it. I don't know. Maybe I am. But whatever. If it works for them. It's just I always worry about how children are being brought up. Because, okay, and I hate this expression, we got to look after the future, and the children are the future. And then you break out in a Whitney Houston song or something. Yeah, I don't put a lot of faith into the idea that the children are the future, and they're gonna right all the wrongs, because they're not. Because guess what? We were the children once that were the future, and did we right the wrongs?
Well, actually, Pressy is a good.
What's that?
Gay people choose to be parents.
Straights have. Yeah, okay. That's probably a good point. That's true. I guess I'm just saying, though, even though they are choosing to be parents, what are their reasons for choosing that? I mean, okay, accidental parents, you get, right? Things happen. That second bottle of wine you shouldn't have had. You shouldn't have put on the Tom Jones album. You shouldn't have wore sexy underwear or something like that. But why is it that there are gay people out there that want to have children? Why? Like, I'm not saying it's wrong that they want to have children. I'm just saying, what are their reasons behind it? Because, like you're saying, Tracy, they had to make a decision. Clean up on aisle 3. We're doing a live broadcast. You decide to wipe up the drips then. But if we weren't on air, they were just sitting there for 3 days before you got to it. So whatever. So yeah, I just always question when I hear a gay couple are going to
Well, no,
adopt.
I've seen some gay couples that. Well, actually, we've known gay couples that were married before, and they have children from previous marriage.
Well, that's different,
right? But then there's been a few that we've known over the years that have adopted when you could, and a couple of the couples I kind of questioned why they were having
children. Yeah, that's what I mean. Tracy says lesbians want kids immediately. Oh,
well. Lesbians tend to be, well, let's just say women in general tend to be more maternal than men.
Well, let's just talk biology here for a minute. And this isn't sexist. This is a known fact. Tracy, I'm sure you know the statistics on this because you're always a person with facts and this kind of stuff. But women have and they call it the biological clock. And they have, I guess if you want to call it, the maternal instinct or whatever. And so they want children. I don't know. Again, I'm not sure the reasonings behind that. I'm not a woman. Okay, obviously. But there were some things said up here that kind of I want to go back to. Let's see. Yeah, Virginia said, we were talking about reasoning with children, she says, my daughter started her first granddaughter making wise choices, but found out in the toddler years that they as parents needed to exert firmer direction and redirection. Yeah, you got to take control of these little, like, okay, kids are not born evil. I never have ever met a kid that I thought was devil's spawn. Their parents, yes, but them, no. But it's a learned behavior. You know, what they learn from their parents is what they learn from their parents. And if their parents let them get away with murder, then they will murder somebody. It's as simple as that. And Kathy says, very little consequences for children. Yeah, now, we were talking about that. And then Priest says, I don't think it's just parents. It's also other parents and TV and society and bullying, etc. Yes, I agree that there's other factors, but who raises children in the society? Now, you know the old saying, it takes a village to raise a child. Horse feathers on that one. It takes internet, TV, school system, the government, psychologists, the medical profession, and parents to raise a child. Only because the parents allow TV, the internet, the school system, the government to take on the responsibility of raising their children. As a teacher, it was not my job to raise a child. My job was to teach them a subject, English. My job was to teach them how to read, how to write, how to think when it came to literature and things related to that. That was my job. My job was not to teach them etiquette, to teach them manners. Did you know we did teach them etiquette in school? There was a big movement back in the 90s. We had homerooms, and I forget what we called it, but we had a homeroom, and every day for the first 20 minutes of homeroom, like they had extended homerooms or something like this. I forget exactly how it worked. We had a little booklet, and we had to teach them etiquette, amongst other things, like how to use, which forks to use, which glass to use, proper ways of, how to write a complaint letter in a nice way, or whatever. Not that that's not such a bad thing to learn, but I mean, that wasn't my job. The etiquette stuff was not my job. I mean, I suppose that I taught children etiquette by example. I would say to a kid, I wouldn't say, give me that. I'd say, could I please look at your notebook? Or, thank you for that, or something like that. I wouldn't ridicule a kid in class, unless I hated their guts and then I want to really reduce them to dust. No, that's not true. But I guess so I was teaching them etiquette by example, but that was not my job to do it. And yet parents are leaving it all to schools. And then if the school does something wrong, like let's talk about sex education. Oh yeah, parents don't want their kids to have sex education in school, but then their child comes home knocked up and they go, well, the school system didn't tell them enough about how things worked out there. Well, no, mixed message. Andy says, I think some people want their kids to like them. I told my kids I wasn't their friend, I was their mother, so I didn't care if they didn't like me. Yeah, parents are not... Your kids will find their own peers to be buddy-buddy with. They'll find their bestest friends and all that stuff, their BFFs and that thing. It is not
it seems
parents.
to be like a lot of parents nowadays seem to want to be their kid's best friend.
My
sister does.
Oh, I've seen, and this I think is like, and I see it with the sexes. It seems that mothers and daughters at a certain stage, because there comes a stage when, because I think of my own sister and my mother, where usually in their teens, where suddenly, the mother and the daughter, it's like, kind of a thing. And fathers and sons, and they go out and, hey, buddy. Oh, I hate it. I hate it when I hear a father call his kid buddy. I hate that term. It makes the hair on the back of my neck stand up for some reason. To me, it sounds creepy. This is not your buddy. This is your son. This is your child. This is your boy. Whatever. Not your buddy. You're not going out drinking with them at 10. But yet, and then of course, those parents are just setting themselves up for hurt anyways, because eventually the kid will figure out, no, I can hang out with these other people because they know what's going on and you're just old and you haven't got a clue.
Right?
And I think if anything is even sadder is watching a parent try to be hip. They try to use the lingo. They get a lot of kids got off Facebook because their parents were getting on it. My sister's on Facebook, or was on Facebook, with her kids and the whole bit. Okay, let's talk helicopter and the whole bit. And a lot of the kids migrated away from Facebook. And I heard them say it in school. Yeah, I'm not on Facebook. I'm on whatever it was, Twitter or something like that or whatever, because my mother's on there now. Yeah, they don't really want their parents to know what they're talking about, especially teenagers. They don't want that. What else has been said here? They might have missed. I'm skimming. Amish and Indians move their parents in. Well, good luck with that. Trying to catch up here. Uh, okay. I'm meant to be a father. Gabriel choose to be parents. It's a half accent. Tom Jones, lesbian. I ate Thanksgiving. Priest says, Stephen, I ate Thanksgiving dinner at AOL Pell's house. I got there and her 7 and 3-year-old were drinking quarts of Gatorade and watched South Park. South Park's an adult cartoon. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, okay, here's another aspect too. I wouldn't want to necessarily be a parent today because trying to keep your kids away from stuff like South Park or all the other inappropriate content that's on primetime television that they can watch on their iPad, their phone, their TV, whatever. How do you monitor that? In fact, when I taught media, some parents did come to me and say, "Oh, it's so good for them to take this class because we're very concerned about what they're watching on TV." Then you control the TV. I'm just teaching them the pitfalls of media or what to watch out for so they become a smart consumer and don't get fished in on stuff. You're their legal guardian. You control what they watch then. Or if you can't control it, then discuss it with them. Teach them what's appropriate, what's inappropriate, what things they're seeing on TV are not necessarily real or not things that are societally acceptable, like pulling out a gun every time someone crosses you and blowing them away. American parents could learn a lot from that idea, I'm sure. But that kind of thing. I mean, it's all part of education. You can't expect somebody else to educate your kids. You got to educate them. Education starts at home. It starts from the day they're born. They're a blank slate, I have child, but I hate when parents think our world is only for parents and families. I have a child, but I hate when parents think our world is only for parents and families. I'm not sure exactly what you meant by that, Tracy. Except the only thing, if I interpret this right, it is this attitude when you walk into some place and if you don't have children with you in tow, like a restaurant, and the kids are all sitting at the table and they're all eating pizza at Boston Pizza and they're making like thunderous noise, and if you should turn and look and go, I was hoping for a quiet meal, well, there's my mistake, my bad, don't go to Boston Pizza. For that kind of thing, if you want a quiet meal somewhere, go someplace where,
Or Chuck E. Cheese's.
Or Chuck E. Cheese. Yeah, well, there are certain places, yeah, okay, those are for kids and that. Or McDonald's or whatever. But, and then it's like the parents look at you, just say something. Just say something. I defy you to say something. I want to hear you say something because I want to get into it. Because I want to become all high and mighty about this. Well, these are my children and you have no right to say anything about my children. Yes, I do. I have a right when your children are invading my space. When your kid is popping over the front of the seat on the airplane and making faces at me.
Yeah, or kicking the seat.
Or kicking the seat behind you constantly and pushing their little feet into the seat and the whole bit. Because if I can't turn around and I look over the seat and say to the parent, excuse me, would you mind having your daughter or your son stop kicking my chair? I'd really appreciate it. Thank you. That's what you would get first. Then you get, well, obviously you don't have any children, so you don't know what it's like. But she's being free. She's being quiet. She's not hurting anybody. She's not harming you. She's not doing anything. That's when you want to open a window on a plane and just suck them right out into the void. Really. Right through. The chubby ones you might have to push a little. But that's what you want to do. Oh, hi, Chris. Oh, hi, Lisa. I don't think I said hi to you. When my kids would say, I hate you, I would say, well, that means I'm doing my job. Yeah. Yeah. They'll get over that. Chris says, I've never allowed my kids to have a TV in their bedrooms. The game machine was in the family lounge and only used on weekends for an hour or so with non-violent games. Yeah, but you're doing something like that, but there's so many other ones not doing that. And if not starting an argument with you here, Chris, but what's stopping your kids from going to their friend's place and playing the violent video games? And how do you control that? Not saying that it shouldn't be controlled. I'm just saying that, you know what kids are like. They'll find a way around everything. Mel says, sounds good, Tracy. My mom was also like that. Sometimes she just said that today you don't have to go to school. Let's make some fun. Maybe she needed that more to herself being a single parent. I don't know how to respond to something like that. And this is why. I saw a lot of parents take their kids out of school to go shopping. Teenagers.
Actually, I ran into them in the mall when I was working, because there was a mall next door to where I worked. And I would go in there, and I'd see a woman, I remember a woman in a lineup, and they had two kids. One was school age, and the other one was not yet school age. And she said, well, I had to take the one to the dentist, so the other one, she didn't want to go to school, so I took her out as well.
Yeah. So, that gives an attitude towards those kids as to the value of education. We used to hear it all the time in around Christmas time and March break. Christmas time, they got 2 weeks off. Well, the Great Exodus, as we called it, began usually at the 1st of December. Because flights were cheaper at the 1st of December, if they want to go on a family vacation, they want to go Florida, someplace warm, whatever. So if they booked it for the 1st of December, the flights were cheaper than waiting until the actual school holiday started, which was closer to actual Christmas time. And they would yank them out of school for 2 weeks. Then, now, and they'd say, well, it's December, you're not doing anything important. Yeah, we are. It's growing in high school, a semestered system. We were getting near the end of the semester when all of their major assignments were due. Exams were coming up as soon as they came back from Christmas holidays, pretty much about 3 weeks afterwards. The whole bit. Yeah. Or some, secretaries would call home, such and such wasn't in school today. Yeah. We decided to go shopping. She needed some new shoes, or she needed a new outfit. She's going to a party on the weekend, this kind of a thing, or whatever. Well, wait, the stores are open in most places now till 9 o'clock at night. Could you not do that after school hours? Why'd you have to do it during school? Some of them would miss actual tests, and the parents would turn around and say, and it wasn't because the kid was sick. The parents would lie. Or, so what's that teach the kid? Why they weren't in school for it, and expect that they could do the test whenever they wanted to do it on their time, on the teacher's time. No. What's that teaching kids? About responsibility, about accountability, about the value of education in their lives? Apparently not much with that. So, my neighbors on my next door app are complaining that beer and wine at the supermarket can be seen by children. Well, yeah, but they don't see it in their own home. We saw booze. My parents had a bar in their house. When I was a teenager and I'd be babysitting my brother and sister, pretty much, if my parents were going out, kind of a thing. It was just known you didn't get into the bar. But I did. But I could make a mean pink lady, I will tell you that. And those were in the days when you made a pink lady without a mix. I had to learn how to separate out egg whites and make it frothy on the top. But, I mean, I saw booze. My parents would not allow me to go into a liquor store or beer store when I was a child, but then with them. But then again, most parents didn't, at least in Canada, in our area.
I don't see kids in the liquor store or beer store that much here.
No. But you see kids in a bar with their parents. Their parents are sitting, like a lot of roadhouse restaurants now that are family done, or, part of it's the restaurant, part of it's the bar area, but the bar areas now have usually tables in them as well. But you will see them sitting up at the bar, or sitting at one of those bar tables with small children in a bar, and there's beer, there's wine, the whole bit. So that always bothers me when I see kids in a bar, kind of a thing, like little kids. But then again, if the parents are educating them and not sitting there and going, here, have a drink. Want to try a martini or a margarita? What would you like? Oh, I don't know. I'm 7. I could probably have an extra dry martini with a twist. Thank you. Yeah, whatever on that. So I don't see anything wrong with it being in, like, kids being exposed to it in the grocery stores. But I think, again, it comes back to education. And that's the parents' responsibility to teach the kids, not just say you can't have that, but also explain the reason. It's an adult drink. You have to be, the law says you have to be a certain age to drink it. Probably that's enough at a certain age. When they get older, they'll figure it out. And they'll still try.
But
That's
seeing it in the grocery store, I don't see what that's a big deal about. I mean, you see lots of things in the grocery store. Do they take them through the condom aisle too? And actually,
and those are condoms. You put those on your pee-pee so you can't have children. Your daddy should have worn one of those and you wouldn't have been here. No. Oops. But mommy speaks too much. But that brings up another good point, though. Is there we're talking about bad parenting, but is there such a thing as over-parenting as well? And is that a bad thing? Like being overly protective, being a very severe censor of what they watch on TV, what kind of video games they play, what movies they go to, what they see in grocery stores and things like that. I think over-parenting, and that what leads to helicopter parents, can be just as bad.
Yeah, like I worked with a lady, and she was her 26 years. She was still buying or setting up buying cell phones for her 26-year-old son.
Yeah, really.
Because, well, according to her, she got a better deal. But no, she was picking up his cell phone when he was working full time.
My mother bought me underwear when I was 16, and I said to my mother, I'm capable of buying my own underwear.
Helicopter parenting, inviting thoughts. I think she was trying to figure out what that is. That's basically parents hovering over their children as they've gotten older.
And still, like, trying
That's
to...
That's where I've gotten the thing where I said where a lady that I knew that was in HR said, Human Resources said that parents were trying to go with their kids when they were in their 20s to an interview, like for a job. Or
coming in and setting up their desk.
Setting up their desk on the first day of their job.
They've graduated from university. They've got their first day of job someplace.
Well, like this woman that I know that's still buying her son's cell phones when he's 26 and he's dating a woman.
Yeah.
Right? And, I mean, that's a helicopter parent. They're wannabes still involved with their kids' lives to the point they're influencing them when they should be adults.
And the thing, though, too, is the kids are not embarrassed by this. I mean, like I said, 16 years old, my mother goes to Marks and Spencer's when we used to have it in this country, and she bought me underwear. And I said, Mom, I think maybe it's time I can buy my own underwear.
I was very independent when I was younger because at 14 and 15, I didn't want to go shopping with my mother. I didn't want to be seen with her. And so she would just, when I was 14, she would just give me some money and say, okay, go out and buy your underwear.
Yeah, well, like, okay, but you see, so I guess she got the point then going, oh, yeah, maybe you're right. You are 16. I shouldn't be buying you underwear. You can buy your own. But I was looking here. Chris said, my daughter once told me she loved the babysitter and she loved the babysitter more. Wait, my daughter once told me she loved the babysitter and she loved the babysitter more than her mother, I guess. I told her, we pay her to love you. Oh, Chris, I love you. That's a good line. Like that. Mommy, why is my babysitter's scissor so ugly? Because the pretty ones won't look after something as ugly as you. Yeah, that would be good. Oh, so many things. Lisa says, I live in New York and my grandson started kindergarten this year and all of his lessons are on a tablet. I was floored. Yeah, I guess that's modern technology for you. Well, I've got nothing against that, as long, again, as they're taught how to use it in a proper, responsible way.
Well, nowadays, everyth's so technology-oriented, then...
Oh, Chris says, my husband got some Legos for his 21st birthday. Well, yeah, but you want to know something? Legos aren't just for kids anymore, because apparently there's whole YouTube sites on there where adults are into Legos majorly, and I guess they're the only ones that can afford them anyways, because some of those sets are like hundreds and hundreds of dollars for it and extremely complicated. Tracy, this is funny. Steven, your mom bought you undies when you were 16 and now you're buying her bras. Yeah, I know. What goes around comes around. And then Andy says, helicoptering can be reversed. My son threatened to have a GPS chip put in my neck so he could keep track of me. Well, you know, I kind of understand where your son might be coming from, given my situation with my mother. Legos equal foot killers. Yeah, when you step on them. Oh, Laura's here. Hi, Laura. I'm doing a digital classroom exclusively this year. 0 paper is my goal. Oh, so that's going back to the iPod thing. Yeah. iPad thing. Yeah. Well, anyways, back to when I said, you know, how we get, people think that we should not have an opinion about child rearing because we're gay and we don't have children and everything. Guess what? I think our opinions are probably worthy more than what most parents' opinions are about raising their children. Because one, when you're inside something and surrounded by it, you can't see outside of it how the rest of the world sees it. If you're the one that's in there and you're doing this daily, raising your kids, and I'm sure you're doing the best job you can because kids don't come with manuals, as they always say, kind of a thing. I think it's very easy to become defensive if someone even bats an eye at whatever your kid is doing. I get that. It's being protective and it's the ownership thing. And also, you know, I think people get very easily offended if someone comes up and says, and everybody's been in that situation where somebody says, you don't tell me how to raise my children. Okay, there's a lot of things I have wrong with that statement. I get their point. But one, why did somebody have to bring up a criticism of the way you're bringing up your children if your children were doing something that was appropriate and not inappropriate? Two, my children goes right back to my first statement where children are a property. They belong to you. They sprung forth from your loins. They are your product. It's your little mess to work with, okay? And that kind of thing. I can have an opinion, we can have an opinion, because when your little mess interferes in my life, they have no right to interfere in my life. So if parents don't want me to get into their face about the way they're bringing up their children, then keep your children out of my space and out of my face, and then we'll get along. It's like I hate it when I see those signs on the back of cars, baby on board. I say, hold it up, show me the nail through its head on that piece of plywood, and I'll believe you have a baby on board. You know, like, really? What, that makes you special because you got a baby in a car? I've got some tomatoes that if we have an accident are really going to get badly bruised. And that upsets me with the price of tomatoes these days. So, your kid, my tomatoes, whatever.
Interesting, this Lisa says, I'm wondering how in kindergarten how he's going to learn how to write.
He won't.
Is learning how to write important anymore?
He won't. I can tell you this right now. They don't teach cursive, not here in Ontario. They don't teach cursive writing in public school anymore. So I had kids come into high school who could not read. If I wrote, now I seldom wrote on the whiteboard at school. There are whiteboards, not chalkboards, because of allergies. You know, these little things are always allergic to something these days, too. Again, possibly over-parenting. Maybe it's the way our society's gone. Topic for another day. Not getting into that right now. But they couldn't read. If I did a capital written Q, they didn't know what that was. Sir, is that supposed to be a 2? No, it's attached to a bunch of other letters, you see, so it couldn't be a 2. I'm not texting, all right? I'm not using the number 4 for the word for. All right?
Even people that were coming into work that were in their 20s when I was still working couldn't read handwritten writing.
Yeah.
They could only read printing.
Yeah. Handwriting, as much as our generation might think this is a horrible thing, the reality is, in another generation, nobody will be writing. Period. It'll all be done by automatic. It'll be texting in one form, or it'll just be voice dictation, the whole bit. It will be a dying art in our society. And yes, I think that is sad, but that is something that comes with technology, and I don't think there's a heck of a lot we can do about it. And in another generation or two,
There's
writing?
Syracuse said, I recently heard that some schools are bringing back handwriting. The only thing is, if you don't use it,
You lose it.
yeah, it's like teaching somebody in Canada French if you don't use it.
Well, yeah. Yeah, I know. I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing either. I don't know. I know for myself, I don't write much anymore. I can,
I type most of it.
but mainly because my handwriting is so horrible. It has always been horrible, but it's gotten even worse because I haven't got the practice. I am a much faster on a keyboard than I am handwriting. And so, yes, I have lost the ability to
The only thing I
make things
handwrite
legible.
now is the very remote time that I write a check out, and
Ooh.
which is very
Where are
rare.
you writing checks?
Very rare these days.
Oh, how last century?
And I'll write notes to myself because that's how but I'm old. That's what I do. Other kids nowadays write notes on their phone
Yeah,
in text.
yeah. I mean, I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know, but I think it's a thing.
I think it's
And I think
something-
it's
I
a
think
thing
it's
that's
a
not going to go
change.
away.
And it's not something that will go away.
No. Chris says, I don't understand how parents get so defensive when someone points out their children's bad behavior. Well, I can understand it because I think probably inside themselves they do realize it's a direct reflection upon themselves as being a parent, and they're taking offense to that. And it is, because their kid wouldn't be acting that way if they were told, if they had been taught properly from the get-go what the proper behavior was. Now, having said all that, I met some very lovely children when I was teaching. Lovely etiquette, very polite, lovely kids. And then those were the ones that the parents I would see on parents' night, and those kids were usually doing well in school. And you knew as soon as you met the parent why the kid was the way they were, because the parent was that way too. It's the same reason why I knew that why some of the girls, especially grade 10 girls, were wearing really slutty clothes in school that were very inappropriate, because their mother came to parents' night and she was wearing the same outfit. And so you know who she was the parent of, don't you? Oh, the hooker doesn't fall far from the brothel, does it? But, let's see. Price says, my neighbor's kids are fantastic, but she's also fantastic. Exactly. Exactly. Kids are a reflection of their parents. If their parents are horrible individuals, their parents are pigs, the kid's going to be that way too. And it's not the kid's fault. What else? How are they going to know any different? So, yeah, you show me a good kid, I'll show you good parenting. You show me a wicked child, I will show you bad parenting. It's very simple equation. And that's why I feel entitled to have an opinion. And as I said before, if it's interfering with my life, if they're in my space, then I think I have all the right in the world to say to the little bastard, I mean the little sweetheart, go away. And if the little sweetheart won't go away, I don't have any problem turning to the parent and go, tell your little sweetheart to go away. They're in my space. So, and Tracy says people of Walmart. Yep, right now that. Okay, I think that's it for today. That's our time. So, topic for next week. I've been writing some things down, and one was somebody wanted to talk about nursing homes and things, which I'm not sure if we should or not, because in a sense, every time I talk about my mother, I'm talking about a nursing home. That may be just a reiteration of the whole thing. I've got some other topics that people have given me, though, and for the life of me, I left my list downstairs, and I'm not sure what they were. And there was one there that was really interesting, I thought, and, well, it'll be a surprise. So you'll just have to stay tuned for either to my vlog tomorrow, if I think to bring it up then, or when I do the little teaser for Stephen and Walter Live. Now, next week, Stephen and Walter Live, I think we will probably be an hour later, because we are going to a 2-day boot camp, Saturday and Sunday, to learn how to do free motion quilting on a long arm. And I'm not sure when it ends on the Sunday, but something in my mind says it runs.
Who enjoys arugula?
What's that?
Prezi, my dog.
Who actually enjoys arugula? I kind of like arugula if it's mixed, not just by itself. Actually, who enjoys arugula, zucchini, and
sardines.
eggplant
And sardines.
and sardines? Ugh, God, no. Yeah. Anyways,
Yeah, foods that people don't like.
maybe. Yeah, what's your horrible... What food do you really hate or something? Foods we love to hate. Yeah, that might be an idea. Anyways, I had a few other ideas that people have been giving me, and thank you for those topics. And you think of anything else during the week that we can make a topic of discussion out of, then please put it in the show notes below and I'll add it to my list and we'll go. But whatever we decide on, I'll let you know in the teaser for sure next Sunday whenever I get to that teaser. Teaser might be a little late too. This boot camp thing's going to throw us right off. So we'll see.
Meliar says an hour later is not good for her. It's midnight.
Yeah, I know. It's midnight for you. Well, you can catch us on the rebound.
Well, we'll see. I don't know.
We don't know yet because we don't know how long the boot camp will last on the Sunday. I think it said it was 9 to 4 both days, but maybe on the Sunday we won't go all the way to 4 o'clock. Anyways, it'll just be a surprise, won't it? So, having said that, I think it's time to go. So thanks for joining us today, people, and we'll see everybody next week, and hope you have a good week, and my vlog will be up tomorrow, and have a good one. See you all later. Bye-bye. Say goodbye, Walter.
Bye.